Hey, what's going on, guys? It's me, Train Man, and welcome back to whatever this is. We're doing trees today. We're doing lots and lots of trees. Hope you guys liked that new intro. I know it's probably a little bit loud. I did not account for that, and I apologize, but it's just a little bit loud. Anyways, so this is a lot of what today is. Today is a lot of making trees, really. I mean, trees, textures, a little bit of terraining because we don't have that much left to do. And man, did I underestimate the amount of time I thought it would take to do all this. Texture work up there in the mountains. I guess it's been a while. It's just been a long time since I last did that much texturing, and I've kind of forgotten how tedious it ends up being. Especially when you're not quite sure where different textures are supposed to go. I mean, sure, you can kind of wing it, but that's, you know, it doesn't necessarily come out to be the best results, especially if you're putting it alongside something that's already known. By the way, that, the narrow gauge section is gonna end up being the divider between the old style Sesquica style mountains and the Capst style mountains with the gray on them. I wasn't sure precisely where to put it, but because those are like lower slopes and the like, it's something that I'm more apt to kind of do there. Now this comes to mind right now. I wanted to include sort of background music. Don't know what to do about that. Once again, I want to include it. I haven't gone to look up really that much. Haven't gone to look up a significant amount of ambient music that I could throw in the back here. Again, this isn't like a, 8 or 4 minute video where I could hijack a song off in Compotech or something like that, or a song or two. This is actually legitimately, half an hour long, or that's what I try to aim for. It's a little bit under length today in terms of the actual amount of footage that I put in. But, well, frankly, I was wondering if A, you guys would want to hear that, and B, you guys would, direct me to a place where I can get some sort of free background ambient music that YouTube won't flag me for, which is the #1 priority over here. So that you can have something to listen to other than my stupid voice, especially when I forget what to say, which has been happening. Which does happen. Or not forget what to say, but just not have anything to say. Now, I felt like I'd done enough in the way of trees over there, and trees are kind of slow-going. And we've got to add the stumps as well, because if you notice, I did say that those islands were kind of mined out for their wood, and that's completely true. Those shrubs really aren't worth getting all the wood for, so instead, I'm just going to place a bunch of stumps down in the shrubs, and you'll be able to see that, these islands still have trees, and these islands don't have trees anymore. It doesn't matter that they're covered in shrubs. I didn't feel like pulling down all the shrubs, just for the hell of it. Not that it would have been that useful anyways. So I come over here and work on one of the last sections of mountain that we have to work on, and in fact this episode I cover 2 out of 3. So that means we've only got one more episode with terraining in it, most likely next, before we get to vote again. And speaking of voting, I have to ask you guys something. Now, episode 103 is coming up pretty fast, and while I want you to, when episode 101 comes around, that's next episode, I want you to post to me everything you want to see me do, for episode 103, which is, of course, the next run session. I want you to leave them in the comments, of course, of that video. The thing I want to know is if I don't get the section done before the thing comes out, or rather, I mean, it won't matter in the short run, but it does matter in the long run no matter what the vote is here. Question, $1 million question today is, do you guys want to have updates to the alpha every run session, which is every 10 episodes, or would you rather have it every time a section is marked as complete and we get to vote? Now, advantages, disadvantages, advantages of the former, of the getting them every 10 episodes, every run session, is you get a consistent supply of alpha, consistent supply of new things to play with, or not necessarily new things to play with. You get consistent updates. You get consistent changes and fixes to things that have been noticed in the prior episode. And you see the progression of the TV and ARR in a blocked-out fashion. I'm not sure really if that's an advantage, but it's a point that needed to be set. Advantages of the other, that I give you the alpha every time a section is complete. Biggest advantage is that every time I release an alpha, you will get new stuff to play with. You'll get new trackage, you'll get new industries, you'll get new places to go and things to see. Especially that things to see part as well. Disadvantages is I can never tell you when that's going to happen, because I've been kind of optimistic with how much work I'd get done these past couple of episodes, so I'm, I guess, behind the schedule that's in my head, which is what was kind of telling me to do the work, not do the work, to hand out the next copy of the alpha in episode 103, and unless I mean, I do have 2 more episodes to catch up, but I know I'm not going to do all the texturing by then. I might do all of the Arturo side texturing, and that's the west side of this range, this mountain range here. I might get all that done by then. I wouldn't expect myself to, but it's a possibility. Either way, you'll get a good-looking TARDIS pass by then, which is pretty much a guarantee. So yeah, that's advantages, disadvantages. Now you can say, I'll say what you should put in the comments so that I can kind of quantify everything really easily. If you want me to release it on a run session basis, put run session release. And if you want me to release it on a completion basis, put completion release. I mean, it's really quite simple. But I've had people who probably just weren't, who probably jumped the gun. I'll give them benefit of the doubt. Jumped the gun, and when I was saying, north, south, east, west, they'd write what they wanted, or they'd write something that wasn't spot on to what I was saying. And of course, this is me nitpicking anyways, because the point was taken. But I just wanted to give it that so I can look at it very easily and quickly and see, okay, this many people want this. Now you notice I'm over here all of a sudden, and the camera jumped because, because the game crashed. That hasn't happened in a while, but the autosave saved almost all of our work, and you guys got to see more. You guys got to see me progress without actually seeing me do some of this texturing around here, which is, I don't know, really something, I guess? Because we lost more footage than we did actual work. The footage, kind of, I don't know what to call it, but, breaks every maybe 10 minutes, and the map autosaves every 2, so we actually really didn't lose hardly any work at all. It was pretty much right where I left off. Which is good, because it means that the provisions that I undertook are working, and the game didn't crash after that, so it might have just been a one-time thing, probably relating to me recording the intro in the Marias Pass map, which didn't crash for me, but probably because I was fiddling around with stuff, it brought about some instability. Anyways, this is one of the things that I was going to work on. Not one of the things I specifically said I would work on, but one of the things that, of course, needed to be done, and it was there, and it was kind of a small project, so I just went ahead and did it. Now we have this edge here that's very carefully coming along and filling in those tiny, tiny spaces. Went ahead and used this lighter mud sort of along the banks, and I might go ahead and do that on the rest of the banks as well, at least until we get to the area where we have the grass there instead of the stone, or instead of this weird yellowish rock, which apparently has become a staple of our construction. Now I'm going ahead and putting the artificial gullies. Of course they aren't made out to be actual gullies in the terrain of the mountain, really, but it's just something to mix up the color scheme. They used to be considerably more prevalent in the older mountains, but these I figured I'd make them bigger and I'd make them more important, and therefore I'd be able to make less of them. And they're all pouring into this this basin down here. Basically, the line of thought was I'll pick any spot large enough to warrant something to break up the monotony, and then I'll put that there. It was a straightforward concept. I'm sure you guys can understand. Now, this is the section where I would do so much of this work and then look at the map and go, ugh, because it is a lot. It is. This is huge. This place is friggin' enormous. And, of course, it's not nearly as bad as some of the stuff even my friends have done, where, you know, they're covering absolutely stupendous amounts of space, but then, again, they don't do it on camera. Either way, it's going to take me probably longer than I figure it would, and I'm probably going to have to find something else to do to break the monotony, and I'm really not sure what that other something would be. I mean, we've got texturing and we've got objecting. No, I'm still not sure if that's the right word. Objecting, scenerying. No, scenerying. That's even worse. Assetting. No. That's a very large term. Assetting would be the term to describe the backing up and packaging of everything that goes with the map in order to make sure that it works correctly when it's handed off to someone, which is something I'll get around to eventually. I understand that the narrow gauge has been a problem for people on Trains 2012. I'm really not sure how to help with that. I have some friends that are kind of working amongst themselves. I just kind of receive the feedback from time to time, and I'm not paying too much attention on how to fix the individual things, because it's just an alpha, and it's more of a thing where you're getting to play around with this and have fun and just kind of goof off. And, you know, play with the map. And already somebody who had the narrow gauge working decided to go ahead and convert it all to standard gauge, that son of a gun. Milky, I'm talking about you. And sure, I said that you can do whatever you want, but you're still despicable. But, going ahead and filling in this area here, you know, speaking of which, the quantity of despicable people in the Trains Skype group that I converse in has increased rapidly and drastically in this past little while. We've got, I mean, we already had one, and then we had two, and now we have three, and it's like, it's getting out of hand. We need to put a damper on this despicableness. That's not a word. Anyways, I think I check the map here in just a minute, and you'll see just how little I've done in terms of how big this mountain is. Which, it's big. Yeah, there you go. I've done a little sliver. I made it like less than an eighth, maybe a tenth around the perimeter of this mountain, if it was a circular mountain, which it's not. It's semicircular at this end. Okay, so for whatever reason, I do this section right there, and then I kind of forget about it. Maybe because I'm not sure what to do with that section directly adjacent to it. That's kind of bland and flat and large. I mean, ideally I'd put one of these mudslides in there and lead it into this one, only there's striations in the way, and I wasn't quite sure on how to break said striations, although now I see the opportunity. And if that still occurs to me, yeah, see where my cursor is right now. Oh, never mind, there I go, filling that up, and I'm going to stop right there. Okay, never mind. Now I can see why I didn't do that. Either way, I don't think it's going to make a really big difference in the long run. It's odd triangle-shaped swamp down the bottom. So, frankly, my boredom is alleviated because I listen to music while I'm saying these things, and that may contribute slightly to my distraction, but at least it's not the podcast, which I listen to, podcasts plural, Rooster Teeth usually, that I listen to while building the map, because I've just broken down into fits of laughter. Not this episode, but in prior episodes, because some of the stuff, man, it's conversations that probably shouldn't be had, but they're being had, and it's really friggin' funny. Or it's disturbing, depending on how you look at it. But, this mountainside really consumes our time for only a little while longer here, and then I spent a great deal of the remainder of the episode, doing more tree work, and now that's another kind of layer of tedium that I've set down to have. This is the last section we work on before moving back to the Great Arturo Swamp and adding more foliage. By the way, I am on the fence about adding this foliage in the swamp mud dirt pit thing that's sitting right here. Not sure if it's a good idea. Might want to do it anyways. At any rate, it certainly won't have any stumps in it. It might have trees, which is likely. At least along the outskirts. Towards the middle, there probably wouldn't be that much dirt to support these trees. I might add a couple of standing puddles of water to make things more cinematic. I don't know. Until I get this thing ported, like seriously looked at in TS12. Or even New Era, where everything is going to be shiny and swaying and, frogs on the switches, and it's going to be cool. Something that made me think of New Era was when I was recording the intro and seeing the snow coming in through the snow shed in the last clip. And going, man, I wish that wasn't happening. By the way, those clips, for the record, in case you didn't know, were all taken on the Moraes Pass route, with the copy of the zombie train that's being used for the pass filming, or will be used for the pass filming if I ever get all my voice acting together. It's, a project that I once again put on the wayside, partly because it's not the next book in the series anyways. Originally it was going to be part 2, and then I got attached to Wybold's stories, or rather we put our stories together, and we're working on Firefall, which is the one that goes in between them. And while it's sort of good to, while it would be interesting to see all the callbacks, which really weren't planned for, having them out in chronological order would probably be a good thing. So, we're going to go ahead and wrap that up, and I'd say we're about halfway through it. We've been working on and off for a while, more off than on right now, these days. Also, I didn't fill that area with trees because it's the edge of the map, and I'm not sure what it's going to look like. There might be more islands over there, which I would connect tracks to, and I didn't want to interfere. So, this set of narrow gauge tracks is about as far as I'm going to work this section. Now, I wouldn't run a track down that island, at any rate. I'd have to figure out a different way to get there. So I tried a bunch of different techniques. One of the ones that made for interesting looking bushes was this, that technique there, where it's just rapidly clicking, holding down shift, making all these little different bushes as opposed to long strings of identical bushes. In the long run, it doesn't really matter a lot, but I was just trying out different techniques. Obviously, the long strings of bushes lead to better ground coverage, per unit of time spent placing ground coverage. It creates a less randomized setup, though. Anyways, filling in this area here, just getting this all right under wraps. A few more islands to do. I don't think we get all of them done. one of the bigger things that we do is get the edges done. Like, if you notice, I just went in and filled in some textures over by the shore of the swamp. Does the swamp really have a shore? Edge? I don't know. But we tree up that area, or we shrub up that area. You know, I kind of wish I had, all these different, whatchamacallits. If I could just click and watch the trees form all over these islands, like if it was procedurally generated shrubberies all over the place. Man, the Knights of Ni would be happy. Anyways. So filling in that, we've got that island, but we come over here and start working on the edge of the thing instead. So we've got this sort of setup here. And I stop holding shift in some areas on purpose, in some areas by accident, but in some areas on purpose to get the kind of edge I'm looking for. Also, I think one of the things that would add, see, this occurred to me to do right around the end of the episode, and I didn't do it because it was the end of the episode. One of the things that occurred to me was putting the, because you see, you know what, I'll wait until I zoom in on it, because you can't really get the whole effect of what it would look like right now. But it involves the way the narrow gauge crosses over the standard gauge, and what that looks like from down on ground level, and how much more kind of prototypical and not personal, but sort of on a micro level of detail that could get. Not even a micro level, just kind of a standard level of detail. How much better it could get. Because when you see stuff running on one side of a main line and on the other side of a main line, the thing that pops into my mind is fences between the main line and the stuff around it. Now this, of course, not applicable in all or even most scenarios. We've got main line running through the middle of nowhere over there, especially over TARDIS Pass, which of course wouldn't have a fence, because it'd just be kind of dumb, and it'd probably get in the way of hikers, among other things. Like Smokey's brothers and stuff. So you wouldn't have fence there, but running through the outskirts of town, right there, bordering the narrow gauge lines on that one side, and then the narrow gauge station on the other side, you'd probably want to put fences in there, and on at least one side, because the trains are going to be blowing through there at about 80 miles an hour, trying to have the momentum they need to get over TARDIS Pass, which is, as far as things go, pretty short, but pretty steep. It's not like CAPS, where you're going to need either geared locomotives, double heads, or melees to really get up that thing. Anyways, I'm going to be way more conscious of my grades in the future. But I did say that and then made TARDIS Pass a 2.5%er. Either way, as I've probably said in the past, the grades are going to get easier as we go farther north until we hit the northern wall, which is just the name for a mountain range that borders the north of the isthmus, which is why the main line has to cut west to get around it. Of course, in that time it runs off the map, but that's beside the point. There are plans to hole through the northern wall, but there's really nothing directly on the other side of it that would make it worthwhile. The towns, after you get past Wine or Stowe and you hit the coast again, the towns are all pretty much built along the coast, and you'll go a while before you'll find any sort of either resource deposits or anything. I mean, the important thing that is on the other side of the north wall is forests, and a hell of a lot of them. But they're pretty... Well, it's a very large sort of box canyon, and in fact people are under the impression that it was at one point a supervolcano. But if it was, it's extinct now. There aren't any geysers or anything really interesting there. just miles and miles and miles of forests. And there's no need to go for the forests right now when you have the Lambeth Groves and the like that are at the south end of the isthmus. So, this is pretty much the last thing we do here. I do one little thing more towards the very end of the episode, which is just a little nitpicky thing. Yeah. Oh, I will say, the reason I said episode 91, tell me, because on the chance that I have the backlog for episode 92 already done, I don't want to have to wait for the results to come in to make episode 93 and stay ahead of my backlog. Or, and rather fall behind and destroy my backlog. So instead, I'm, again, having you guys vote a week early. And it also gives me, in the case that I haven't made my backlog, it makes episode 92 the episode where I can kind of polish everything that I really think I'll need for whatever run session I've set up planning. That's probably not going to happen, though. Odds are, during episode 92, I'll be kind of polishing off little details anyways, in the case that I were to use them when episode 1 comes out and 91 comes out. 101. Sorry, 10 everything, not 90 anything. Yeah. So, yeah. Vote on episode, or not vote, but describe to me your aspirations for episode 103 in the comment section of episode 101. There's probably a 101 joke in there about teaching me what to use, but I'll ignore it for now. This is the same sort of dizzying stuff that we've done a million times. I'm glad it's coming to an end, at least for a while, and that we'll get the break of the monotony to instead be able to build tracks again for once, and kind of concept and think, and not just repeatedly place terrain tracks over and over and over again, and build mountains repeatedly, because as nice as the mountains come out looking sometimes, it's a lot of work for not so much payoff. And I understand why this huge section's missing out of, like, every model railroad I visit, except for the NEB&W, which has been around for 30 years, so it has an excuse as to why it's so well done. But it still has its holes. Anyways. This is one of the last sections. I think we have another 1 or 2 goes at this, and then we are all set. As I can see, we are very close to the end of the episode. And that's pretty much that. I mean, we built mountains, we did trees. We've only got well, it's a decent-sized section, but it's a square section, so it's not too much of a pain. Square-ish section. So it's not going to be, it's not going to be as bad as it could be. As our next episode thing for terrain, then we come down here and I realize the one thing that I am missing is I haven't named the station. Now, having a fence between this station and the tracks would be good looking. I'll leave it at that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next week. Remember to vote next week. Tryman out.